After an epic finale to last season at the Le Mans historic layout, seeing old favorites driving new vehicles and new frontrunners giving the old guard a run for their money, IMSA Vintage starts its newest season a ways north at the Nurburgring GP circuit. Who will navigate this winding track with ease, and who will wish they had more multi-class practice this week? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the opening round of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Our director is Christian Deploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A long, contentious track in IMSA Vintage, the newest iteration of the Nurburgring GP circuit is a fairly unique GP circuit around the world. To find out why, let's take you down to our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Nurburgring. Often overshadowed by its older, bigger brother, the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix course has actually accrued quite a bit of history itself. This modern circuit was built in the early 80s as a replacement for the lesser-known Southern Loop. And while it was updated and extended in 2002, it stayed roughly 3 miles in length throughout its history. However, the addition of the Mercedes Arena brought about a total of 6 different layouts to choose from, with the longest including 16 turns. Though not as fearsome as the Ring, it's technically challenging and carries its own fair share of elevation change. Plus, the types of corners come in a wide variety, ranging from the heavy braking into the sharp hairpin of the first turn, to the swift Schumacher S, which is still not quite flat out in a lot of modern cars. Passing can sometimes come at a premium, and drivers are often forced to get creative if they find themselves stuck behind a competitor. But the difficulty that elicits mistakes means that patience can pay off for those who stay diligent. While Formula One raced here on and off for a few decades, it now mainly hosts GT and touring car racing, along with some lower-tier open-wheel series. In the end, race fans certainly shouldn't overlook the importance of this German circuit. While it may not carry the fame of its counterpart, it holds up well and helps keep this worldwide phenomenon relevant to modern racing.
Well, Craig, this circuit's been a host to many series over the years. IMSA Vintage, probably not one that you would normally see here, but why would the series like to join this place today?
Well, Adam, on its own, the GP circuit's underrated in my eyes, and everyone looks at the full Nürburgring layout and just sees this as a little entry on that track. But on its own, it's a fantastic challenge for multi-class. So let's talk about the GTP. They will have a bit of a challenge here due to the slower corners. There's quite a lot of these, and they come with some nice flowing sections of straights and, thankfully for them, some low curbs. Now, for the GTOs, they're going to love what this track has to offer. You look at down at turn 11 and turn 12, which is the RTL into Warstein or the Bilstein curves, as they've had different names over the years. Nice set of corners there. All the GT drivers love those corners, and it's no different for these Audis. They will have issues, though, at those Schumacher rested, so be prepared because the understeer will be forcing them every direction they don't want to be. Normally, you expect the hairpin to be a prime overtaking spot, but due to the short exit, Dunlop is a risk-reward corner for the drivers due to that cambered racing line. So expect to see more of the overtakes around turn 6 and turn 7 and before the chicane at 14 and 15, otherwise known as the best chicane. We're using the faster chicane today, which actually does help multi-class because that is a challenge around here, Adam. Lots of space for drivers, but the challenge I'm talking about is getting to the corner in time and not when it's too late, because these Audis today, they're going to be able to keep those speeds up.
Absolutely, and that's going to make the racing a lot more exciting in the Audis and a lot more dangerous for the GTPs to pass by. Let's take a look at our race details here. It's round 1 of 12. Those of you who are hoping for another 13 round season, you're going to have to wait a couple of years for that one. 40 minutes out here, so it's their sprint format out here today. Open setups, they can set up the car however they'd like or dislike with no spare vehicles. So if you catch some damage, you're carrying it throughout the race unless you take a pit stop. I'm not going to expect pit stops today, but if someone's going to take one, it's usually because they have a drive-through at 17 incidents or disqualification at 25 incidents. We don't expect to see many drivers run afoul of that today, Craig, but it's no surprise to see drivers out on track all ready for qualifying.
Yeah, drivers already out on track for a new season of iRacing here. Well, for the new season for the IMSA Vintage. Very interesting to see some of the drivers out there today. No Valenteus, no champion out here today. You think, well, that means it's just going to be a one-horse race in both categories. Don't think so. We've got a couple new names in both categories that could really do a lot of damage, including this man, Jacob Reed. Well, Jacob Reed's got a number 2 on his car. that means he's not the highest iRacing driver. So there you go. If it's not Valenteus, who is it? It's a Michael Polasek in the GTOs today.
Michael Polsek in the GTOs. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can qualify well. Just because a driver has a high I rating doesn't necessarily mean that they can wrangle these ancient machines. But it's going to be fascinating to see. These machines are nearly 50 years old, well, 40 years old at this point. So it's really amazing to see how quick they can go around the track. Looks like Jacob might have caught an off track there going on to the runoff and now into the Goodyear hairpin here. He's going to dive down to the apex and then drift off to the outside. Nick Bakanos setting the potential fastest lap out there, currently the leader and the only driver to set a qualifying time.
Yeah, looking on my little board, I don't see any off-track recorded there for Jacob Reed as he comes up to what is the RTL curve now, and so many different names of these cars. This Bill Steiner, this is Warsteiner, so many different names used to the different sponsorships here. Oh. That's definitely an off-track. What a snap there, and you want to run a lot of that exit curve there on the exit there of Warsteiner, but you have to have that awareness that, yes, it goes high, but you have to be careful. This is another corner. We talk about how good that chicane is for multi-class racing. You can cut that inside too much, too easily. So this is going to be an invalid lap. He's going to have one more time around. Meanwhile, as you see, the GTOs are coming back around. Michael Polasek's just taking a time. Here comes Noah Lundberg. What is the man going to do with the number 3 car? He'll come across the line with a very decent 53.452, but needs a lot more time out there.
Looks like Jacob Reed would have set a 37.7 out there with his lap time had it not been disqualified. You can see Noah Lundberg, we're taking the long way around this time around through the inside of the circuit here, which means that there's a lot of low speed corners for these Audis. Noah Lundberg navigating this. The Audi understeer really coming into effect here. It actually makes a lot of sense to get as slow as possible through those turns to get the front to rotate, especially at those low speeds. So that's why you see Noah Lundberg getting down to around 50 miles an hour through those curves. You can see him just drifting wide of the apex there as he dives it down to the inside. Nick Licano sets yet another fastest lap of 37.796. We know Jacob Reed has the potential to get there if his next lap is clean.
Yeah, all eyes will be on Jacob.
Welcome back to the IMSA Vintage Series. Our apologies for the technical difficulties. We'll get those sorted out shortly. We're going to give you a little bit of a radio show here to start off the race. Right now, the cars are rolling from the from the behind the pace car is Jacob Reed on pole position next to Nick Makanos in the GTPs. Who's on pole for the GTOs, Craig?
Well, it'll be Michael Polistek, Ove Trengerade beside him as well, Mickey Friesen and Doug Cloud. The leaders are coming around the final corner. The pace car will come in, Adam. We're about to get going here. We will try and do the best we can. We're going to GSRC radio style for the first few minutes of this race.
Jacob Reed takes the launch off of Nick Makanos fairly strongly. Nick Makanos side by side with the other driver alongside his right side right now. It's going to be almost 3 wide as they go into turn 1. Jacob Reed actually gets caught out by the driver to the inside, who's going to duck inside of him and take away that pole position. He's going to go through turn 1 and 2 fairly strongly. They're still side by side as they exit the corner. But what about the GTOs, Greg?
Well, that's Ra Rosa's Guardia who managed to take the position right away to try and make that move, and Michael Polisek holds on from Ove Trengeride. Behind, I do wonder if Brain is trying to hold on to Olumbo, getting a couple overtakes right away in these cars. So a clean start for some of the drivers at the moment here. We are now finally giving you picture around the track. The 18 car, as you just saw there, that is a Lesniak. These are the drivers just holding on by. Do apologize, we'll get the timing tower. There we go. Nice clean start from everybody.
A nice clean start from the whole field as everyone gets rolling. Very nose to tail for the GTOs as they duck through the field. Challenging circuit for these drivers as they head through the field through the right and left hand turns. It's going to be a challenge for these drivers to keep plowing through as they're going to kick it off down the back straightaway.
Yeah, back to the straightaway, we see Iker Costasalo having a little bit of a battle as well, as he is trying to fight on a little bit. He's had a really good start as well. He started 9th, he still is 9th, but that's the name of the game. Want to keep yourself clean at the start of this race. You see one driver's already got a meatball flag. It's Pinheiro Gabriel in the number 49 car at the back of the GT field. A little bit of an overtake here from Gabriel Martinez goes on by. And they're almost 3 wide here on the exit. The GTP's just behind these guys. You see Hiroda, Martinez, Costasalo all looking for the same spot here. There goes Jacob Reed. Here comes the rest of the drivers going 2 wide. 2 by 2 they go.
2 by 2 they go up through the field. They're going to run. It's going to be a challenge for these drivers to hang on to the cars as they head down to the next corner. Let's see whether or not they can make it side by side.
And they will make it side by side. And they're still holding on side by side at the moment. Sarazo gets past Gerber as well. So he holds on to a position. Just trying to keep our eyes on what else is out there. Gabriel Martinez just continues on by. As hold on here, Josh Brain having a look at a move on the broadcast. He keeps on going. And just these GTOs, oh so tight out there today. Henry Morse has had a moment in the background. He's had a bit of a spin. He's going to go all the way down the field. But here is Josh Brain trying to battle on Andreas Schuster. Quiet start here for the drivers. Just a couple drivers having a bit of an issue at the start.
Yeah, just a few drivers having a bit of an issue at the start, trying to get themselves going right now. And the field more or less strung out, nose to tail. Nobody trying to make too many aggressive moves except for that first initial move at the start of the race.
It's interesting to see why, and you see these guys now going 2 by 2. Emilio Dechari, we knew about Dechari and what he could do at the start of the season. Well, the start of end of last season, sorry. GTU champion, just trying to look for a move here. I don't know if he's going to get it from Mawson Skogard, but they're going to try and go 2 by 2 up the road, and a little bit of contact there from Dechari, and that's a heavy hit into the tire barrier.
Heavy hit into the tire barrier. That's going to end the day, unfortunately, for Dechari. A really good start for him, unfortunately, ending in tears as he goes off track and hits that outside tire barrier. A rough start to the day for him as the rest of the drivers continue to race.
Yeah, Doug Cloud as well. Next guy we've got onto the track as he continues a nice little battle here with Doug as he's trying to battle Friesen, Trengere, Polsek. Friesen, Trengere, sorry, having a little bit of a moment out there for the time being. Yes, you just see struggling there with a couple slowdowns. It is very tough out there today, Adam. I've got to be honest. I wonder what the drivers are thinking because it's got very hot for the first 5 minutes of this race.
Very hot for the first 5 minutes of this race, not unlike the actual Nurburgring 24 right now that's stopped because of the heat taking up the power to that race. We can see Doug Cloud defending right now as he's trying to plow forward and take a look at Mickey Friesen for second. Polasek, though, we were wondering if he was going to be quick in this car, out to 2.5 seconds in the lead in that GTO. Is it going to be another driver who just runs away for the field this season? So Doug Cloud, once again, putting some heavy pressure on to Mickey Friesen. As we're watching that on board, he's got Joran van Hicks, Ove Trangere tucked in behind him. That's a lapped GTP trying to snake his way through. Should be able to get past all of them by the time they get to the Goodyear curve here. It'll be interesting to see if he makes it through. Nope, Mickey Friesen is going to get a little bit of a break here from Doug Cloud's pressure as the GTP is going to try and snake his way through. Another quickest lap from Nick Makanos up there at the front of the field. He's 1.2 seconds behind Jacob Reed in the GTPs. Closest battle of the GTPs right now is between Raul Roches Guardia and Christopher Olesniak for third position in the GTPs. Here's on board with Mickey Friesen trying to defend against Doug Cloud.
Yeah, here he is, and we just see once again the microphone in full fact. I can see your face today, Mickey. I always like having that little bit of fun with Mickey. We can't see what he's doing, but on the rear camera, he has Doug Cloud. Doug, this is probably the track that is going to work very well for Doug. We talk about how good he is when it comes to the overtake, the defending capabilities that Doug has. I feel this is the type of track that really would suit him today, just with the nature of the track, just with the nature of how you're able to defend and set the cars into these corners. Going to be interesting because I think 2 more laps until the traffic really comes. That was a back marker that we saw. That was William Richardson, apology, that I did see there who came by them. So it'll be interesting to see what he does when the main traffic comes on by.
Doug Cloud looking for a move on the inside of Friesen, decided better of it. He's going to back out. Friesen not making that many defensive motions right now, just trying to drive smooth and clear. 2.8 seconds now. Same place as they were last lap between Polasek and Friesen. This is 0.3 a lap. Polasek's pulling away from Friesen. Friesen probably a little frustrated now, hoping that he was going to get an opportunity with Valenteus not here to take a win. But Polasek jumping into this car, driving quick at the front of the field. The question is, can he maintain it over the 40 minutes? The tire wear does come into play here around this track, so it's going to be something that we'll have to take a look at. Van Hicks going a little bit wide through that corner. He's going to fall a little bit further back of Doug Cloud.
Well, in the GTP, Sorato, who was at near the top of the field, had a little bit of a spin coming into the Coca-Cola curve at the end, and now he's just having to lose another one to Shady Ahmad out there today as he comes on by. Nice to actually see as well. No longer clubs. If you've missed the update to iRacing, it's all flags. That's why you're not seeing the clubs like we used to show. We're seeing all this information with speed. We're seeing a flag, though, because there's Sorato proudly throwing the Spanish flag as he's trying to find a way to really show his Fernando Alonso. Maybe go around the outside here at 5. Oh, he has. Oh, he has indeed. What a move from Fernando Sorato.
Amazing move from Sorato to snake around the outside. He's going to hold onto it on the exit, too. That was a beautiful move there. What a fantastic drive around the outside. So a good move is going to get that move complete, and he's going to be able to focus up forward and work on 10th place.
I wonder now if he's able to just put that spin away from him. He's lost 3 positions that started the race. He's able to just keep on pushing, and maybe he'll look for that later in the race. Lesniak is also trying to keep pushing, and here he is trying to catch on Guardia, who almost made a dive to start the race there. We just see the 19 car was looking to make an aggressive move into the first corner. Didn't make it work, and now this is the time where the drivers will start to see the relative. Here's a slow GTO up ahead, and they've gone past him. Mechanos looking for a move onto Jacob Reed. Not sure he's going to be able to get this time, but the slipstream is strong. Just can't get it. Last of the late breakers belongs to Jacob Reed once again.
Absolutely, but Nick Mechanos is able to close a second just with the little bit of traffic that they've had so far. So Nick Mechanos right on the back of Jacob Reed. We're going to watch these GTPs snake through the slower GTOs right now. These GTOs tend to be a little bit more unpredictable, which can make it a little bit challenging to get through them. Jacob Reed looking for a way by, but he has to hit the brakes. And so that's going to give Nick Mechanos an opportunity. He looks to the inside again. Can't quite get it done this time. He's still going to follow. He's looking for an opportunity that's going to be a clear pass, not one that's going to be too much of a risk, because he knows how quick Jacob Reed is. You could see him starting to break away again.
Yeah, you start to see that breakaway, but I think there was not a move available there for Mechanos. And look at the late braking, just setting himself up. These are the back markers in the GTOs. So it's a little bit of a preamble, a little bit of a moosh as they say, and that just goes to show the ability. And in fact, with the way that Corretto there in the GTO went a little bit wide going to Schumacher Resid, Mechanos just took the ability. He had the speed and he had the confidence that the driver was going to stay on that line. And I also can report Cortosalo's gone around with a lot of damage to his rear, and it looks like it's a stealth spin. No, it's not a stealth spin. The exit of the hairpin, Gabriel Martinez just tapped him on the rear.
Mickey Friesen has lost the position to Doug Cloud. Doug Cloud getting that pass done. Mickey Friesen looking for an opportunity. He's going to dive to the inside. He's going to do the swap over. Doug Cloud made the reactionary move to block the inside. Mickey Friesen looking for a better run through the first turn. Looks like Doug is going to hang on to that. That was a good opportunity for Mickey Friesen to try and do the over-under there, but Doug Cloud, wise to the move, takes it deep into one and maintains the position.
Yeah, good little defense from Doug there. Like I said, this is what's going to suit him here. And it's hard to do any sort of over-under when it comes to turn one, just with the way it works. And now we start to see the leaders starting to just interject into this traffic. This is now the real part of the traffic. And you see Mechanos having a little bit of a problem here. Through the Mercedes arena, the GTOs can take a little bit of an elongated line there. It does help them, but it hinders these GTPs. And look at the gap that's allowed Reed to get by. Going to be one car that gets away from them. Now Mechanos has to hope the Audi holds to the other side. You compromise your exit of 5 to set yourself up for forward in 6. Kind of like Lecom, and it worked okay there for Mechanos, but that doubt was lingering in his head, and he had to lift.
And now Jacob Reed and Nick Mechanos into the thick of the GTO traffic up to the number 24 car. You can see Nick Mechanos trying to navigate his way through. The GTOs trying to take their preferred line. Nick Mechanos is going to take away the inside through the chicane. That's going to slow him down a little bit. But now it's just survival for these drivers. Back up to 1.4 seconds between Reed and Mechanos. Here is Reed taking the inside away from Ian Haycox.
Yeah, this is Ian Haycock battling with Henry Morse as Shane Hawkins had a little bit of a moment. And Morse kind of wants this move, had a really good run here. So that held back Mechanos a little bit. Lost a second so far in this lap. And a little bit of a tap there. Don't realize how much understeer and how much tracking that the car gets when they come to the Advin Bogan kink. It did not work for him right behind. More battling though, they've got to be alert here.
This is Olesniak and Guardia battling for third position. Olesniak taking a good run through the final corner. He got it really well set up. Guardia had to slow down just a little bit for the GTO ahead, but unfortunately, he's not going to get the draft from Ian Haycox. Here's Mickey Friesen. Mickey's down to 4th position. He's lost position to Van Hicks now. So Mickey having a really rough start to this race, losing 3 positions over the course of the last couple of laps. Now he's on defense from Ove Trangerade, who's got his top 5 form back underway to start the season.
He got a little bit loose and squirrely on the braced Friesen going into turn 1. He was trying to set himself up for some sort of switchback to start to attack Doug Cloud, and it did not work for him. He left the door pretty much wide open, and having that moment under braking, he was unable to do a lot and just had to concede any position just to keep the pace up here. And that's what the GTOs are doing, making sure they work together to keep the pace going. Right behind, shortly, you're just going to see it. There it is. There's Jacob Reed. So Jacob's going to get past a couple of these cars. Doug Cloud is looking very relaxed here, Adam. Very relaxed. And how can you be relaxed when you've got this man coming zooming right behind you?
It's Jacob Reed who's looking for his way by. Nick Mechanos also looking for a way by. He's going to take the inside away from Van Hicks. That's going to slow Van Hicks through the corner. It's going to give Nick Mechanos a good opportunity as he's going to try and track around the outside of Doug Cloud on exit. He's going to get his way by. Doug Cloud using the trusty Thrusty, the Thrustmaster H-pattern shifter in that machine. Fantastic shifter that I've been using for years as well. Very trustworthy and very easy to use. Might need to adjust some of the gates a little bit to get that thing working for you, but it works extremely well. Doug Cloud now on the defensive from Van Hicks, as you can see in that second position. Polasek 4.5 seconds ahead.
Can't say that other brands are available, but yes, Thrustmaster is a very good entry.
We're not sponsored by Thrustmaster, by the way.
We're not sponsored by Thrustmaster or anybody. We are sponsored by these guys who paid for it. Once again, thank you so much for what you've done. And Van Hicks, is he going to do a thank you and go for another move? No, but he is really starting to push. And look at Doug. I told you, Adam. I told you this was the track for Doug. That corner is so tough to go for a late move. So Doug knows what he's doing. He's putting his car slightly in the middle of the track. And he realized with that GTP traffic, he had no choice but to do that. Otherwise, he would have had a little bit of a moment out there. And unfortunately, that means Van Hicks, well, you're going to have to find a new way to pop the champagne bottle.
Well, Lundberg also trying to battle it out with Andreas Schuster for that 6th position. These two going nose to tail through the corners as they're tucked in behind Ove Trangrade as well. Trangrade in the 15 machine, just a little bit ahead of them. Schuster in the 5, and Lundberg in the 3. He's got Josh Brain for company tucked in behind him. These 3 drivers nose to tail. Most of the GTO field still nose to tail now, but they're going to have the thick of the GTPs starting to come through, and that's going to be affecting these battles. Look at the 3 of Noah Lundberg get a nice run on Schuster, but through the chicanes, nothing that he can really do. That's a little bit of a late move from the GTP to take away the apex. Unfortunately for him, Noah Lundberg was wise to it.
I think Lundberg kind of had an idea that he was going to do that. That was Serato coming on by, and Serato just really being aggressive. Lundberg had to take the defensive line there, had to take a safety line almost, because he knew had he make another move, he would have a lot of issues, and more drivers coming on by. Josh Brain right behind. Look at the cars he gets to see. He's going to see a lot of traffic going on by because Lundberg has to just block up Gerber, Ahmad, and Lim. And all these 4 cars, or all 5 cars, all bunched up now ahead. They're all looking for positions. Gerber will get past Brendan Lim once again. And it looks like Shady Ahmad gets a really good launch on Tobias Gerber to make a move. Tobias, Fabian, I don't know if they're related, but one thing for sure, Fabian's got a lot of damage on the side of that car.
Brendan Lim looking for a far inside line. 4 wide they went down into turn 1. Brendan Lim's going to look for 3 wide again as they go through the corner. He's got a good run off of the exit but can't make the outside work. But he's still gained 2 positions in that corner alone. Brendan Lim up to 8th.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what happened to Fabian Gerber to have that damage on the side of his car for watching Tobias as well. Looks like a lot of damage. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of issue going through one of the corners earlier in the last lap. But here's Lundberg also just trying now to see if he can find an opportunity after what has happened, because it is very chaotic. They're 2x2 through the Ford curve up ahead, still trying to just find their way through. They are really separating the GTO field a lot more than we'd expect. Oh, Gabriel Martinez almost going into the side of Gerber, and that's a very much excuse me, and another excuse me, and off he goes. There was never space there.
No, Gabriel Martinez tried to power out of the corner and just had too much understeer to do it. Ended up almost forcing the other driver off the track, but fortunately was able to recover. So Gabri back down to 13th position is going to have to keep plowing forward. One battle that has not separated the GTOs is that battle for 2nd through 4th positions between Doug Cloud, Nick Freeze, and Jorn Van Hicks. Those 3 still nose to tail. We're seeing it right now on screen, but look at this. Antonio Alvarez looking for a move on 10th.
Yeah, Antonio's looking for a move on Tobias Gerber. Can't make it stick, and these guys all getting past the GTO leaders, but the rest of the field still trying to get on by. Alvarez really loving that classic livery there. A little bit of a slide, but again, this classic livery, I don't think it was on a Nissan. It was definitely on a Porsche. Regardless, this is where you have your historic driving. Continues on by, and he's up 4 places today. Really done a good start here for Alvarez. Not a driver we see a lot in the series, just kicking up a lot of gravel out there today. So this is one of those drivers you look at and go, if you're here for the long run, strap in, because this is the first of 40-minute races this season. You got a lot more to go by, and you got to learn a lot more about overtaking these cars.
Absolutely, and one battle that I've been keeping my eyes on is in the clear air. Nick Bakanos has actually been quicker than Jacob Reed, lap over lap pace. He's now closed that gap to under 0.5 of a second as we see a driver off the track there. Unfortunately, getting out of the way, but yeah, these cars only separated by half a second right now as Jacob Reed continues to try and put laps down, but Nick Bakanos has the raw pace today on the race pace.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's the case that Jacob's just not comfortable out there. I mean, we know what he's done on this type of track, so he knows his track from his GP Tour days. But this is a different monster. This is not a car with a lot of downforce. It's got that ground effect downforce, but it's not you going super fast with the screaming V8 behind you. This is an old school turbo car, and it feels like he's just struggling out there with the pace. But we say that, again, 4/10 slower than Mechanos, half a second slower, if I just saw a spinning GTO, half a second slower than Guardia, and 3/10 slower than Lesniak. So Jacob's struggling out there today.
Jacob is struggling out there today. Guardia, unfortunately, is 5 seconds back, so he can't really capitalize on the fact that he's the fastest GTP on circuit right now. A lot of our GTO battles are starting to separate a little bit. It's about a second between Doug Cloud and Mickey Friesen. We're looking at Noah Lundberg, though. He is currently in heavy defense mode from that number 5, Asheen of Andreas Schuster. These two have been swapping positions over the course of this lap. They've got Josh Brain once again behind them, and they've got about 2 seconds up to Ove Trangrade. So all this battling has really broken them off of the top 5.
Yeah, all that battling. Remember, those GTPs were just going absolute hell-bent for leather and racing hard and racing fair. And these GTOs, they were the victims. They had a bit of a split. You start to see everybody go. And McCannell's almost had a move there on Jacob Reed. Didn't catch that just at the moment, but this is scary for Reed. All of a sudden, I wonder, the track's only 79 Fahrenheit, 26 Celsius. He hasn't cooked his tires already, has he?
I would hope not, but these cars do not have the latest spec of iRacing tire compounds. So that means, oh, look at this, a move to the inside from Nick McConos. He's trying to take away that line. The question is, who is going to get the draft from the GTO? It's going to be both of them as they both fall line astern, and Nick McConos looking for a move. He's sizing up a move in turn 1. Jacob goes defensive to the inside. Nick McConos is going to go late on the brakes to try and sweep around the outside. It's hard to maintain that position. He can't get it done this time. These two having a cracking battle for the lead.
Yeah, great little battle here from McCannell. I did wonder, is that the type of corner you want to be trying to make a move on? It's hard to go around the outside that corner unless it was the setup, the layout without the Mercedes arena, and it's that classic S section here. So I wonder if that was just something that he was possibly looking for, who knows? But on the 007 camera, we go once again, and you're starting to see that Reed is really struggling out there today, and I just can't put my finger on it, Adam.
He's got some understeer, which surprises me a little bit as we see Nick McConos. This seems to be his preferred line to take it down to the early apex around the Goodyear around the Goodyear hairpin. But I'm thinking that Nick McConos is trying to be assertive because he's trying to force Jacob Reed into a mistake. And we've seen him make some mistakes over the last couple of seasons when he's been in the lead before. So I think this might be a sound strategy from Nick, but he has to be careful not to use up too much of this stuff. We're under halfway to go, 18 minutes, 35 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, 18 minutes, 35 seconds left to go on the clock. Jacob Reed still has the lead, and these two have now really started to pull away from the rest of the field. And you just wonder now, 5 seconds is the gap between McCannell and Gardia, who's in 3rd position. No other real battles happening in the GTP except for this. And that's just the nature of just how that first wave of traffic went. They've got to go through the traffic once again. And I'm looking on the track map, Adam. There's only one part of the track which is clear, and that is the exit of Dunlop curb up to the Schumacher S's. That is the longest part of the track, second longest part of the track, and that's the clearest part of the track.
Absolutely. So that means that Jacob Reed and Nick McConos are going to be going through traffic for the rest of this race for the next 17 minutes. And that's going to mean that there are opportunities for both drivers to create some gaps between the others and for Nick McConos to try and make a move. We're taking a look now at the battle for second position. The reason we haven't looked at Polasek is because he's been out clear by about 4 seconds over the course of this race, but these drivers are starting to rein him in a little bit. It keeps creeping under that 4-second mark and can get down as low as 3.7. And if Polasek has been burning off his tires a little bit too much, it's entirely possible these guys can catch him. But one driver who's not looking forward, who is only looking at his mirrors right now, is Doug Cloud on the defense against Mickey Friesen.
Doug loves looking at his mirror. I wonder if he's got a fancy vanity mirror or something, because he must love looking at it right now, because all the driving he is doing is just really proving. I'm not entirely sure if he's from Fiji. Last time I checked, he was in America. Regardless, he's really got to wait for this now. Look at his car. Just at the last moment, just kinks the car a little bit to the left. To the right, sorry, but that GTP traffic may hold him up a little bit here, and he has to take a more of an inside line than he wants to at the arena, because you do want to hold that inside line, but it holds him up. Van Hicks is now with this. There's a 3-car scrap here for this position, but with 16 minutes to go, some of these drivers, they're matching Polasek's time, but I don't feel that's enough right now. I feel that if they want to contest for the victory, maybe they got to get past Doug, but Adam, how many times we said it? You just can't get past Doug.
Zamboni is in full effect right now as Doug Cloud parking it on the apexes forcing Friesen and Van Hicks to go his pace through the corners. He has no interest in trying to claw his way forward to the leader. He's just trying to defend this position right now, and that's why he's driving the way that he is. You saw just how much debris was on the exit of the hairpin. No surprise there to see these drivers struggling. You can see Doug Cloud having to take a little bit of a compromised line through the first of the chicanes, but he's able to hang on to that position. Doug Cloud, very comfortable right now.
Oh, he's absolutely, just look at his camera. He is so relaxed out there today. Like, we've seen his camera so many times, we don't need to see it again. But, I mean, I want to know if he's got air cold, because right now in Europe, we're kind of sweltering at the moment. I don't know how he's keeping it cool, calm, and collective out there, because it is a very tough battle. Look who you've got behind you, Mickey Friesen, Johan Van Hick. It is so tough to get these guys to fight these guys, and he's holding off really good out there today. And I can report in the GTPs, Fabian Gerber has had a little bit of a spin around out there. He's all good though.
So Fabian back on track, trying to track forward. Another battle that's close in the GTPs is between Dustin Hiroda and Seamus Power. They're in 5th and 6th positions as they're trying to look on at this battle here. As you can see, Mickey Friesen, a little bit of contact there between Van Hicks and one of the other GTPs. So unfortunately for Van Hicks, it's going to knock him down about a second compared to the two other GTO drivers. Doug Cloud driving fairly defensively against these GTPs. The GTP tries to go all the way around the outside and gets into the gray. Can't find any traction there. And that's Mickey Friesen just trying to drive a line that's going to keep him out of trouble.
Trying to keep a line that keeps him out of trouble, but he's got GTPs coming on by him, and he can't turn into the corner like he wants to at turn 5, and now trying to hold to the inside here for turn 6 at Ford Curb, and that's going to help him, but the GTPs just keep on getting by, and to their credit, those two GTPs are still battling. It's Chimney Yavav and Colby Newland, so very interesting to see what happened there, and a slide from Friesen as we go aboard with Dustin Hiroda. I was just going to say, it is a little bit warm. I do see a little bit of shine on Hiroda's face. I'm not saying you're sweating on purpose. I'm just saying it is so hot out there. And he's also got the upcomer, Seamus Power, who is right behind him, who's made up 6 positions so far this race. It's going to be tough to hold him off, but the traffic is working for him at the moment. Up ahead of them is a lap GTP.
Absolutely, Dustin Hiroda right now in that 5th position, trying to hold off Seamus Power in 6th. Seamus having able to get by the GTOs. You can see the damage on the front of that GTO as we go through the camera. Look at this, Dustin looking for a move. He's going to sneak on by a slower GTP, and that's going to bottle up Seamus Power behind. Seamus takes it 3 wide on the exit of the corner and is able to sneak by. My goodness, that's a risky move, but it's an assertive one to keep him in striking distance of Hiroda.
I think JD Biddle, who was the lap GTP card there, I think he just allowed that to happen. You won't see that happening in these because, once again, Lundberg trying to battle on. A lot of carnage happening up ahead, though, because right ahead of them, Lundberg was in Van Hick trying to get past Mickey Friesen. They've lost a lot of time to Doug Cloud, and up ahead of them was Ilanis and Peresu having their own little battle, and this is getting very messy. That green car is the number 2 car of Jacob Reed. With 12 minutes to go, he has to navigate through lap GTOs and lapped battling GTPs. Oh, this is going to be tough.
Oh, he sneaks through in between Friesen and Van Hicks. He's able to sneak through that battle and able to gain that time over Nick Bakanos. Nick Bakanos losing time in all of this chaos. But man, Jacob Reed is not free and clear. He's got those battling GTPs to deal with. There is Nick Bakanos flashing the lights saying, hey guys, I need to get by. He sneaks by, but he's still got 2 cars between himself and Jacob Reed. One of them, a slower GTP who's not going to be looking in the mirrors. Now he finally sees him and goes by, but Nick's going to have to wait here behind Doug Cloud before he can sneak by through the chicane. That loses him a full second.
Doug Cloud had to slow down. Doug Cloud had to slow down, and you can see the driver trying to get by. And Lance Simon just pushed off Mickey Friesen, going for a very late move, and now it's Van Hick someone's going to get thrown off. No. So all of a sudden, Friesen and Van Hick had a chance to catch up to Doug. The moment they caught up to Doug, multi-class happened. Doug's now a little bit flustered, but he's just keeping calm. More GTPs coming by. This is Guardia, who is in the lead battle as well. He's 6 seconds behind. Regardless, he's there, just waiting. But what should have been Friesen battling Cloud has now turned into Van Hick battling Cloud. I gotta say, Friesen in the space of 4 corners has not had a good time with traffic.
And that was Trangeray that you saw off in the gravel, and there is Van Hicks trying to find a little bit extra draft off of the GTP. Doug Cloud, he does not look particularly happy about what just happened, but he's still ahead in this battle for second position, but they're now 7 seconds behind Polasek, who's been navigating the traffic very cleanly so far.
Well, we thought it was going to have one driver dominating the GTPs. We don't know about the GTOs. It is, but there's no Valenteus in sight today, but it does not matter. Van Hicks really testing, and the GTO goes away from the side there to pull off the track, allows them to keep on battling. It's starting to heat up on the track as well, and Van Hicks doesn't look for that move, decided against it, but look how much speed they have to cut down and go straight on there. Really good run here for Van Hicks. Don't think he's going to get it, but look, keep your eyes on that timing tower as well, because look what's happened to the leaders in GTP.
Oh, Doug Cloud gets pushed wide through the hairpin, and look at that. Van Hicks is going to take the opportunity. He's going to dive to the inside, which becomes the outside. They're going to take it too wide through the chicanes. This is going to slow them down significantly. Doug has to back out of it and let Van Hicks go by. Is Doug going to try for a move here with two GTPs? He looks for it. It's 3 wide into the corner. Almost contact. There is contact. Van Hicks and Doug Cloud go wide. Friesen trying to find his way around. Has to fall in line behind Van Hicks. And Doug Cloud goes from second position all the way back to fifth, as that's Noah Lundberg looking for an opportunity now.
Good on Doug Cloud, though. He went for the move a little bit too aggressive, realized his mistake right away, and he was waiting to see Van Hicks to get going. And I gotta say, really nice recovery from Van Hicks. That is GTO standard there, just to catch a drift and make it a drift. So he's able to just keep on battling. He hasn't lost his power. He's still there. As Van Hicks now leads on. The pace will be interesting with 10 minutes to go. The gap's 8 seconds. Not really easy to get to. I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. But can Van Hicks hold off? Here comes Doug with a very late move. Serrano just parks it there as well. It's a very tough corner.
Oh, mischief behind from Noah Lundberg, so he falls back even further behind Doug Cloud as he was caught out by Serrano parking it on the apex. Friesen getting pushed wide by Serrano now. Serrano's still trying to find his way through. That allows Doug Cloud to get right back to his rear bumper. Look how close it was between Serrano there and Friesen on the exit of the corner. Friesen's going to be frustrated with that, but he knows that he can get himself back up to the back of Van Hicks. He's been doing all day, but he can't take the apex because there's another GTP there. A little bit of front left damage up there on the front of Friesen.
But at the same time, the forward curve is not a corner that you can really just stick your nose into. And if a driver just goes a little bit off the apex there, it does not affect him too much. And already, Van Hicks starting to pull away from Friesen because Friesen's not getting a good run here with the traffic. And Brendan Lim just almost cut the door off Doug Cloud. And Doug very not happy with that. There's the purple stallion in Brendan Lim. And these GTP taking a little bit too much liberty out here today. It's a nice track from Multiclass, but again, patience is key. And there's been a lot of late moves here from the GTPs today.
You're not missing anything at the front of the GTP field. That gap has opened up to 4.5 seconds. We know Nick can close that down. He's done it before, so we'll keep our eyes there. 7 minutes, 50 seconds to go, so we see a tight squeeze there between Noah Lundberg and one of the passing GTPs. Oh, we're on board with Ove Trangeray, who had that off track through the Goodyear hairpin. But fortunately for him, he's been able to get back into the fight and been able to get right in behind Noah Lundberg. Had to brake a little bit on the exit of the corner. This is going to slow him down for the straightaway, so he won't have an opportunity there. But the gap's spreading out a little bit as they got the middle of the GTP field snaking through the GTO leaders right now.
It's interesting to see how these drivers go on a very missed apex there from Ove Trangeray. Other drivers also having some problems out there. I think Doug Cloud had a bit of a lock-up there. This has all started. Trangeray got back into this because of what has happened a couple laps ago. He wasn't near this battle, and the moment Lundberg caught onto this to turn it into a four-car dance, you had to have Trangeray just come along with his hook, winch himself in. Done a really good job to just keep with the pace and just stay with it. Just like these drivers in the GTPs, because you know, you've got Hiroda and Power trying to push on, trying to battle on. These are lap GTPs who keep on going by, and they're still trying to find those 4 seconds to catch up to a Lesniak. That's no easy feat, but they have to accept sometime they're going to be battling for this last spot on the top 5.
Looking off the back of Justin Roeder towards Seamus Power behind. Seamus Power has been clinging to the back of Roeder since the beginning of this race, but he still has been able to crack that top 5 and get past Roeder. Roeder very staunch on the defense, very clean through the traffic. Seamus clearly has a little bit better race pace, but Justin Roeder able to hang on to the position just due to his strong defensive driving.
Strong defensive driving, that's what you need. Another GTP lets them by from the rear, the exhaust camera almost on this car. The GTP lets himself by. Hirota's got some traffic up ahead still. 2 seconds up the road is a GTO, and he's now looking to see, can he use that to his advantage to just try and there's the exhaust camera. I've never seen the exhaust camera. What have I been looking at? Can he hold on to his position? The lap traffic's holding him off a little bit here, and that's not going to allow Seamus to get a run. Very tight, though. He might have a look hit into turn 5. No, there's nothing there for the moment, and that's just the nature of this. The game is try and get around the traffic, of course, but you've got to try and look for a launch. Not there. We have seen it happen, though.
Look at that. Mickey Friesen on the timing tower. Out to 0.9 of a second, almost touching 1 second as we go on this track. So Van Hicks, really, he is starting to climb away from Friesen so long as the traffic doesn't do him bad. So that battle for second position looking like it might go the way of Van Hicks if he can hang on to it. This battle for 5th, Justin Hiroter has been very clean. Even though Seamus Power has been right there the entire time, there really hasn't been an opportunity for Power to look for a move. So Justin Hiroter just doing a really good job clinging to this opportunity here, and Seamus Power not finding any lap traffic to give him any sort of picks right now.
No, there's not a lot of traffic out there as well. One thing to just keep your eyes on to see where is the traffic, and they'll be looking at their relatives, and they'll be trying to scroll up the relative as fast as they can to see what's coming up ahead of them. I can tell them that there's nothing. 6 seconds up the road is the next traffic. That's a real struggle for them. These guys are nowhere near them when it comes to traffic. Doug Cloud's had another slowdown. That's why we're looking at Noah Lundberg in 4th. He did not have a good time there. I know he got a little bit forced wide from a Robert Plumley going into Dunlop, and that can't face. Does he hear me? Does he hear me? Because he just put the right facial expression on. I mean, that was how I'd be feeling right now, and I'm pretty sure he'd be very frustrated. Another slowdown at the same spot, Adam. The Schumacher S's.
Absolutely, and so unfortunately, it's the easiest place to catch one of those slowdowns. Jorn Van Hicks out to 1.7 seconds over Friesen, so Van Hicks has started to run away with that second position. Noah Lundberg, though, looking to try and get himself up onto the bottom run of the rostrum right now in 4th position, only 0.7 behind Friesen, but it was Doug that was the cork in the bottle for some of these faster drivers, but unfortunately for Van Hicks, Polasek still faster, still gaining time, still out to 8.5 seconds in the lead of the GTOs. 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, 3 minutes to go. People asking what happened to Nick. Has anything happened to Nick? Well, nothing. Nothing's happened to Nick. He had a bad lap a couple laps ago where he did a 143, but that was not due to him having a spin or anything. It was just not having good time with the traffic. No, he actually had an off. I take it back. He had an off around RTL Curve and Warsteiner. Or Bill Stein, again, you just crossed out which one you don't want to use. So he had an excursion, cost him, but the pace that Jake has been able to do through the traffic on the second time, we thought he was struggling with that tire wear, really started to just hang it in there now. Really started to work well for him as he's been able to get that under control. Seamus still on the back here of Hiroda, still can't find a way around.
Now, what's interesting is I noted that Jacob Reed looked like he had possibly a tight setup, and while that is going to penalize you early on in the race, later on in the race with these GTPs, when the rear tires get very, very slick, it can actually loosen up to be a well-balanced car as long as you can keep those front tires from wearing too much on the early stages. And if there's anything we know about Jacob Reed, it's he can conserve a car's front end fairly effectively. So he probably gave himself a little bit extra understeer to start the race so it would balance out towards the end and he have a quick car for the end, because he didn't know that Valenteus wasn't showing up today.
No, I don't think anyone knew that Kurt Valenteus wasn't going to be turning up today, and everyone just always has that goal. They want to beat Valenteus, and one driver who's not going to be able to beat Valenteus today would be Carlos Fonseca, who unfortunately had a moment coming out of Warsteiner into the barriers very quickly and very hard. And Ove Trengerade is in the pits as well. no reason. He had a moment. He came into the pits and then crashed in the pit lane. I have no idea what's happened there, but he's out of the race now as we keep on watching Seamus going on by. A minute to go. This is the closest battle in the GTPs. In fact, it's one of the only battles in the GTPs.
Jacob Reed on his final lap, 7 seconds ahead of Nick Makanos. Really no story to talk about at the front of the field. Jacob just being very calm, cool, and collected. That battle for third position, last step on the rostrum for the GTOs, has gotten to be pretty thick between Mickey Friesen, Noah Lundberg, and Doug Cloud, who's back up there. Doug's going to be kicking himself because he had an opportunity to retain that second position over the course of this race. Just those two slowdowns were exactly what he didn't need to drop him from second position all the way back to fifth. The top five, still a good result, but Doug Cloud would have loved to been up there at second position. So as we continue to watch Jacob Reed circulate his final lap.
Yeah, Jacob's going to go past his final lap. Those GTOs are having their little battle. They get to go one last time. Seamus Power doesn't have one last time to make a move on Dustin Hiroda, and he's looking hard on the brakes. He goes very tight. I'm looking, keeping my eyes as well on Jacob Reed for you, Adam. Do not worry. These guys are just going in. This could be the last time Power gets a really good shot to make an overtake. He's nowhere near it, though. He's got the lap traffic. It's going to hold him up. More lap traffic going ahead. But we keep our eyes now on Jacob Reed. He's just got a couple more corners to navigate. And is that the leaders? Nope. That's P7 and P8 having a little battle.
So Jacob Reed coming through the chicane for the last time. He's going to duck around. He's going to probably fall in line behind the 16 and then duck out to the outside on the exit of the corner. Here he goes to the inside. He's going to cross the line. Jacob Reed, a solid defense against Nick Makanos, is going to win this race.
Solid defense from Makanos. Makanos is going to come across the line. He gets that P2. Guardia's going to get the P3. Again, a quiet race. In fact, the top four all started in the same, all finished in the same positions they started. But we've got to look at the GTOs, Adam. Nothing exactly happening. Michael Polasek currently leading the way. He's got a really good 8.5 second lead. But that battle for the final spot on the podium, it's starting to heat up with Friesen and Lundberg. They are now on their own. Doug Cloud has lost the toe. And Van Hicks, he has just gone. And he looks like he'll be keeping that P2. Going to be down to 2 cars for the final spot on the podium.
Polasek going through the last couple sections of this course, just a fairly calm drive for him ever since the start of the race. Got through turn 1 fairly cleanly and just started to gap the field. An uneventful race at the front of the field is something that none of the rest of the field wants to see. 9 seconds to the good as Polasek goes through the chicanes for the last time. And Noah Lundberg trying to put on a strong fight against Friesen for that third position.
Trying to put on a strong fight as Michael Polasek got 2 more corners left to go. He'll come on by. You're not missing anything on that battle between Lundberg and Friesen because he's not he's not close enough. Final chicane, final corner for Polasek. Keeps it cool, calm, and collective. He'll pick up a victory here on the broadcast. Have to do the stat. I think that might be his first one on the broadcast. We got to get to the battle for P3 though. Van Hicks is going to take the lead. It could be a little bit of a drag race here. A lock up from Friesen, and I think that'll be it. Lundberg had a really good pace into the chicane. Friesen backed down for a little bit to slow him down. Real good decision there to do what he did because that gives him that battle. And Henry Morse, he's just going to be unlucky here on Cameron.
Unfortunately for him, he can't get past Cameron in that Glacier Racing machine, so Henry Morse is going to come home in the 8th position. And what a race we had today from start to finish. Action throughout the field, and the traffic definitely played a factor. But in the end, it was Jacob Reed who took the win over Nick Makanos, who came home in second position today. And we'll get the standings up here for you shortly. Yeah, so it was Jacob Reed finishing ahead of Nick Makanos with Raul Welch's Guardia in third position, Christoph Olesniak in fourth. Dustin Hiroder holds on to fifth from Seamus Power, who was very close behind him throughout the entire race but couldn't get the pass done. Shady Ahmad has a fantastic drive today, finishes up in 7th position, just ahead of Fernando Serrato. Brendan Lim and Tobias Gerber round out your top 10 on the next page. In 11th position is Antonio Alvarez with Robert Plumley in 12th spot. Sony Mied is going to finish in 13th with Ilka Kodasalo in 14th position. Juan Jose Suarez is going to finish in 15th with William Richardson, the last driver, on the lead lap. Drivers one lap down include Gabri Martinez, Oreo Montiego, Andre Felipe Diaz, and Chinmay Yadav. and that's 20 cars. There are more of the GTPs. 21st is Colby Newland with Victor Ilanez in 22nd. Lance Simon finishes in 23rd with Heracles Perso in 24th, and Will Reichard in 25th. The last car, 1 lap down. 2 cars, 2 laps down, Carlos Fonseca and JD Bettel. And then we've got Adrian Calvino and Pinheiro Gabriel. And we've got Fabian Gerber, who finishes in 30th position in 9 laps down. Quite a dramatic finish for the GTPs. But what about the GTOs, Craig?
GTOs were a little bit dramatic, not as much as Michael Polasek had a really good victory over Jovan Hicks. And there was Mickey Friesen, who started 3rd and finishes 3rd. And Noel Lundberg will make those 4 places up to finish 4th. And then Doug Cloud falls down a position into 5th with Josh Braden 6th. Johanny Cameron will finish 7th, just beating Henry Morse. And then Shane Hawkins will be 9th. And Ian Haycox gets 10th. These are laps down to the leaders, of course, of their own class, with Roman Bello also a lap down in 11th. Silver Jovert will be 12th. Paul Clavier will take 13th, and it's Sam Skogard who will be 14th. Henry Viamaki, Quiet Racing 15th, with Hector Corredo 16th. Then Nicolas Perrault will take 17th. Martin Enrique Revert will be 18th, and then 2 laps down, Ove Trangrade, who retired early. And Fulban Pollock also 2 laps down in 20th. And then the last 3 drivers, 2 of them was driving, 1 was a retiree. Ed Benson will be 21st. Andreas Schuster was 22nd. And Emilio DiCiario, I did talk about, had that crash, unfortunately, did finish and retired in 23rd. Not a good showing for the current GTU champion, Adam.
No, it was not. But that being said, it was a fantastic drive throughout the race for these drivers. And I'm just taking a look to see if we have anyone to talk to at the moment. Doesn't appear so. But Craig, for the start of the season, this is a very clean race. We didn't see too much contention out there as far as interclass comings together. Just a little bit of contact here and there, and a lot of respect out there. A good barometer for the first race of the season.
A good barometer for a track that a lot of drivers know from outside of just IMSA Vintage driving. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens next week, because the schedule gets very interesting in terms of tracks that people don't know. Next week, we're at Mid-Ohio. The regulars know the track. It's a fantastic track for IMSA Vintage, but it could provide a lot of carnage. And then the week after, we go to something brand new for the drivers, because we go to Portland, a track that just came out to iRacing last season. We finally get to see it here in IMSA Vintage. So the next 2 races are going to be interesting ones, because the drivers will need to do a lot of seat time. And just because you know how to overtake a car in Multiclass doesn't mean you're going to be able to on a track like Mid-Ohio or a track like Portland.
No, Portland's going to be fairly slow for the GTOs. It's going to be a real challenge for them, because there's so many sweeping corners that are mid-speed, and that's where the Audi understeer comes into effect for these drivers. So they're going to have to be really careful as they drive around Portland. But that's going to actually finish us out for today. We want to give a huge thank you to the IMSA Vintage community for bringing us on for this yet another season. And I want to give a big thanks to the team today, Craig, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media website, merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race is going to be Mid-Ohio. That's June 28th, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And going on right now on GSRC is the Majors 24. So bop over there. You're going to be watching flag to flag on the Majors 24 today. A fantastic race, and you're going to see a lot of action over there. And don't miss the other upcoming races that are also shown here on your screen. We hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you. And we hope to see you back again soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.